Oh look, it went. See, I just had to turn back on. I'll give it a. Sure. Let me see what's going on. This one right here. Did y'all order y'all embossers and y'all IDs, your consul badges?
I got this. Thalhimer is just. I don't understand what's going on with this. Thalhimer gave me.
He wrote that down?
Yeah.
It's long. That's what had me hitting the day one. I'm going to be walking around. I wish it went higher. Let me see here. So today's class.
She's gonna take mine and everybody else.
Pronounce your appellation. Because I'm going to put you on fleek mode right now.
Me?
Yes.
Tep2
Tried to play me today, y'all. No, he been playing me for a week. A whole week.
Get him.
And guess what he didn't do? What Moors don't be doing. They be straight going to the guzzler. He ain't read. I'm just going to say it. Why is this acting stupid?
On point, guy. On point.
We're going to start with the mantra. Why isn't it showing up, y'all? What is going on with Facebook today? Facebook is just wanting to be a butthole today.
Put your papers away.
It's going to be a straight butthole.
Like that.
Wait, what you taking from me? Is that thing live yet? Did you see the little hearts? It's not letting. It's not showing me. Where's your laptop?
It's live.
It's live. Mm-hmm. Oh, what we got here?
The Leo. Okay, I thought. That's what I was looking for.
We're gonna start with. Well, I have stuff for you too. I know that I have stuff for you too. And I need some signatures. This is for. Don't get it twisted. I wanted to mail it to me, but I said no. I ain't gonna mail it. That's before nationality. Yeah. That's everybody.
You got some more stuff for me?
I have things that need to be signed. We'll do that after class.
No, I don't have mine.
You don't have
My stamper. My stamper. The stamp pad.
what you mean stamp pad?
Yeah, the ink pad.
Which one of them? Which one?
Trying to look up something. Put
Hey, all these jail sentences is genocide.
All these who?
Jail sentences. It's genocide.
Jail
Mental
sentence.
harm.
Sit down.
Where you going?
We have so much work to do, y'all. Ridiculous.
Here.
We're gonna start with the mantra today. And someone's gonna read. You have a lot of paper here. How much did it cost to print that first page? That's
free.
beautiful. Where?
We have it's called the Success Center in Vineland.
Yeah, it's our old hospital.
Our old hospital. They turned it into a family. It's called Monarch Family Success Center. And you can go on there. You can use the emails. The printers, the computers. You can sit around, watch TV. You can go in the kitchen area, eat for free. It's all there.
Why don't we have classes down there?
Everything's free.
They're not open on Sundays. They're doing the week, but they're not open on Sundays.
Maybe we should go down on Wednesday.
Take,
Yeah.
do the tours, turn the back.
It's nice.
Oh, yeah.
It's really nice.
I ain't roll my eyes.
It's good.
I didn't roll my eyes. Annette, do you know this mantra?
It's good.
Yep.
You ready to say it for the camera? Really?
I could. I'm not a
Who wants to say it in front of the camera?
Maybe
Come on, more stop.
people looking for me.
Can't always be me.
I'll say it from the
Might be
camera.
people.
I'll break the ice.
Yeah, break the ice, please. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, break the ice.
Islam.
Islam.
I am Thalhimer Rasul El Basir Bey, appropriate persona to George, appropriate solo, and appropriate Redis at all times. I am a descendant of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the Moabites and Canaanites. I am an Aboriginal, Indigenous, Moorish, American national, and I am exercising all of my rights at this time and at all points in time. You are commanded to state your name and nationality to be ready for the record, immediately without further comment. I am the law, I am the government. You do not have jurisdiction over me. You are commanded to set me free immediately, return my property immediately, cease and desist all actions in contact, and take your leave and never return. This is your due process of my notice of intent to lien you, if you do not do as commanded and take your leave. Notice to agent is notice to principal, notice to principal is notice to agent. I also command a certified copy of your Foreign Agent Registration Act statement and your anti-bribery statement, with the wet ink signature on the bond. Peace, Islam.
Islam, who's
And the
next? I got
delegation
the
of
monitor
authority
here if
order.
y'all want to read it.
Yeah, that too.
And you won't
Hit
be
with
able
that
to
too.
misconstrue what I wrote. Oh, you got it? So how about the three newbies go up and read it all together?
Yes, there you go.
Let me see
Triple
what you got.
threat.
Hmm?
Let me see what you got. He added some stuff in there.
At the
He
bottom.
did just a little bit. Just a little
Like, wait a minute, that is-
It's on your list. Oh yeah, towards the end I had to add some that in the camera.
Islam, we see y'all. I like this view. Over here anyway.
I am Brielle.
I am Thalhimer Tarael. I'm Jericho Jarael. We are Moorish American nationals and proprio persona, sui juris, and proprio heredes at all
times
and all points in time. We are the descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet
and Moabites
and Canaanites. We are.
I am the law.
Hold on, wait a second, because we trying to say it one at a time. We
Right.
say it, and it's like, hold on, wait, start over.
Right, for like the Brady Bunch.
There they go.
Yeah, start over. Because we saying odd and weed and
Hers and hers.
Okay. Ready? Are we saying we or I? Just say I. Okay.
I.
Okay. All right.
I am Brielle.
I am Thalhimer Tarael. I am Jericho Jarael. We are Moorish American nationals and propria persona, sui juris, and proprio heredes at all points.
At all times and at all points in time.
We are the descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet, the Moabites, and Canaanites. We are the law, we're the government, and we command you to set us free. No, wait, state your name and nationality for the record, on the record, without further comment. You do not have jurisdiction over us. Okay. You do not have jurisdiction over us. Do as we command and return our property and set us free, and cease and desist all actions against us. This is our notice of intent to lien you if you do not do as we command.
Okay.
Notice the agent is notice the principal, and notice the principal is notice the agent.
Come on, Tiger. No, get your butt up there, Tiger.
Good job.
Come on, Tiger. You're not gonna say the mantra?
I haven't gotten it done yet.
How you ain't get the mantra done yet, Mr. Consul Commissioner? Really? And then don't be laughing. You ain't do it yet either.
$10.
There we go.
But,
But you don't want to do it with this?
well, I memorized it, but I can't memorize
You got
it.
it memorized?
Yeah.
All right, well get up there and do it. Check
I don't
it
want to get up there, but,
out. Come on,
why you
Annette
looking for
and
me,
Fatima. What about you? You want to get it done?
laugh.
You sit here laughing. We got to do it threes. They did it.
Come on, y'all. Let's
One
get
more.
it.
Come on, y'all. Y'all can't be scared. Y'all can't be scared in the camera.
will read it.
You know it by accident? You know it by heart?
I do a sidebar.
You start with no line.
Sidebar. That's good.
He said sidebar. Look, I bet you she do it and won't be sitting here acting all crazy. I bet she's like, I am.
It became
I am Tattoo Naum L.Ed, a Moorish national, a Moorish American national, and proprio persona, and proprio sui juris, and proprio heredes at all times and points in time. I am a descendant of the great pharaohs of Kemet and the Moabites and Canaanites. I am the law. I am the government, and I command you to state your name and nationality for the record, on the record, without further comment. You do not have jurisdiction over me. I command you set me free, return my property, and cease and desist all actions against me. This is my notice of intent to lien you. If you do not do as I command and set me free. Produce the bond for the record on the record you are holding me under so I can satisfy it, otherwise set me free. Notice the agent is notice the principal. Notice the principal is notice the agent.
It's long. It's long. Thank you, Moors. Awesome. What are we talking about today? We have an update to the grid as well. We also have, which I've processed and put on in the file section of the Facebook group, the affidavit of Allodial, record of live birth. These are documents we have to absolutely positively create for all of our heirs as well as for ourselves. Because right now, outside of that, oh, look at that. Who's that picture?
My daughter.
I tell you, Fatima be working. She be so busy, except learning a mantra.
I know my mantra. I'm just camera shy.
She camera shy. What's your sign?
Aquarius.
Ooh, the Aquarian. I've been getting a lot of Aquarian energy coming to me.
That's good.
So much Aquarian energy. And when I hear about the Aquarians, is it true that Aquarians, like, 1 minute they're there, the next minute they just go ghost on you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my God!
That's true.
Yeah.
They just
Our
go
friends
ghost
do
on
it
you
too.
and don't say nothing. They won't even
Boy.
tell you, they just ghost you.
Twilight.
Yeah, that's my
What
Like
is that?
Yeah.
Short.
I'm not gonna
I am so
It's
not
good.
understanding
Scorpio's
that.
trying to do it
Huh?
too.
Winds, they're air. So
Oh,
We gotta go.
I'm like, it's okay if you go, just say, I gotta go.
One
Going in the
moment,
wind.
one
going
moment,
with the wind.
focus and zoned out. Then next thing you know, it's
Something
star.
else. Yes. Yes.
I am learning this because Aquariuses, I have several new Aquarius friends. I ain't gonna say y'all appellations on Facebook. Robin, Bradley, Bay, Isaiah, L, Fatima. She hasn't gone ghost on us yet. But 1 minute y'all there, next minute y'all like, I'm doing me. What does that mean? What is that energy?
I don't
I
know.
want to know.
Their own personal space.
I
they
get
me
that you
time.
need your personal space, but you can't be in my atmosphere, my aura. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, did anybody talk to Isaiah? Did anybody talk to Robin? Where are they at? I can't say that yet for Fatima.
I'm always
Is it coming?
I can.
No.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it is.
It's coming.
Yes,
We have to keep her happy and energized up.
Look at it. Just
Now, we're going to have a section for, let's say, advertisement or merchantability. There's a Moor that is that's currently being detained unlawfully in a POW camp down in the Georgia Republic. His appellations is, I butcher y'all appellations. This is why I be so hesitant to say it. So hesitant. But I know I need to. And I don't want to butcher this individual's name or appellation. So he's in the facility. He sends me letters all the time. And he always sends these beautiful artwork. I don't want to mess his appellation up. I just don't want to do it. So I'm not going to say it. So he sends all this beautiful artwork. So you know how Moors, they send me notices and then all of a sudden I'm their manager or something. I'm like, how I get the responsibility of putting these on display for people to, if you want these are 5 notes per, but this one right here, because he put so much care, I'm going to partake and depart with this for 15 notes. But because it has a little, what you call it, chain is made out of banana peels. I don't know how he did it, but he described it in the letter that he sent me. But it's so beautifully done, and I don't want to mess his appellation up, but I do want to give him kudos, y'all. Who's my linguist here, huh?
I just say much props.
So he did. So next week I'm going to give him a better props in terms of what he does. But I brought him here for the Moors to send notifications if you want one of these. But I'll take a photo shot and post it in the group if you want to order any of these artifacts Are they is it an artifact after you're dead, or is it artwork when you're alive?
Artwork when you're alive.
An artifact. So it's not an artifact. It's artwork. So I just want to give him his kudos. And I mess up butcher people's appellations so much, I don't even want to say half of the people's appellation because I butchered it up so much.
Yeah.
But the certificate of live births, you definitely want to process these. So I did put, like I said, I did put it in a file section, not only the master, but a draft where I did it for every last one of my heirs, who are all Moorish American nationals. And on this document, it's kind of just like the so-called birth certificate that you do through the service corporation. The only difference is this is a certificate of live birth. That certificate is literally a certificate of death.
Does that get recorded on the Court of Deeds, or you just?
Everything should be recorded on a recorder of deeds.
That makes sense.
The more you record who you are, the more what's the word I want to say? Confusions can happen as to who exactly you are. Yes. So we have those. Then we also have the affidavits of clear and perfect allodial land titles. This is part of the process of property possession or revenue of your Moorish estate, which we'll pretty much go over today. I like to put it apart so there's no confusion. Revenue. Convey.
You right.
Of your property
Here, you right what you right. Yes, please.
into your private trust. So that's why grid 1, of the grid tier 1 and 2 is so important to have done ASAP. Because the first thing you always have to fix in terms of status in terms of your standing in society is your status. And tier 1 is the completion of your status correction. So tier 1 is important, and don't do nothing else until you do tier 1. Really don't do nothing until you do tier 1. Because once you do tier 1, you're going to go over to tier 2, which is establishing your private trust in tier 2.
Can you start tier 2 in the process of finishing tier 1?
Of course. Just as long as you can definitely start tier 2 in the process of finishing up tier 1. I say do them in conjunction, because the first part of tier 1 is doing what? The name declaration and judicial proclamation. And we actually updated the name declaration to include in personam jurisdiction and a cancellation of those corporate contracts with the born name. So, for instance, I was born with this name. Okay? That was the born name on the so-called birth certificate, or at least the application, let's say, for the so-called birth certificate and the so-called social security number, which monetized us into a corporation and made us dead in the eyes of law. Because even though my mother, this is my born name, when the so-called corporate state where you domicile near processed the paperwork, that's where they established the corporate being. So through the birth certificate, and social security number, the corporation was established. Which was this?
Islam.
You say Islam to me?
Yes. Definition. succession. As opposed to born.
See that here?
Well,
That's what they're doing to
that's
us.
the father. His father.
Rewind.
Yeah, you just can't. And that gave me a dictionary, which is the Black's Law 4th edition, and it's the definition of the word born. This is heavy. A child. I should make you read it. Come on up here and read it.
I'll read it.
You already
You
got
wanna
it.
read it?
Yeah. Make up for not being able to do
Come on,
He's
Tim.
gonna read the definitions today. So when we're going over a definition, you're gonna come up and read it. So go
Just
read
set
the
you
definition of born, and then read the definition of born name. Was it born name? What's this?
Born outside. Born alive.
Born alive and then born. Do born first.
Born. This is the Black's Law Dictionary, revised 4th edition, West Publishing Company, 1968. Born. A child in ventre sa mère, Merrill versus Winchester. If an infant is born dead or at such an early stage of pregnancy as to be unable to live, it is to be considered as never born. That makes too much sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Born alive. Where a child, although it never cried, breathed and his heart beat some minutes, it was born alive. Sanford versus Getman. A child never heard to cry, but whose heartbeats could be heard, though no respiration could be induced, was born alive. Union Trust Company. In Reed. That was it.
Okay, it's on. Thank you. It's on. So a born name.
Oh, this one is, wait a minute, born out of wedlock. Wait a
Oh,
minute. Wait, that's important because according to the Popes of Rome, you have to have a license to be married. So here's the
But-
definition. But everybody's born out of wedlock to them. Okay, all right. But
Can we just elaborate on what that just said? Because what I think is important, that it's not saying anything about being alive pretty much. It's telling you everything as if the word born is alluding to death, which is what a birth certificate is. It's
Which is a
supposed to
solidification
be
of it.
like a death certificate, basically. They're putting your name in all capital letters. So
none of us have actually been born.
Glad I'm alive now.
No, we've never been born. That's a scam.
that's how they brought us.
In law, we never born.
That's how
We
they-
can't be born. It's impossible.
That's how they.
That's why I want to read the
Exactly.
wedlock. Because if you're married and got a license and you didn't get married and your child is born before we learned the definition of born out of wedlock, then in wedlock you had to get permission to be born. That don't make any sense, but right?
Hey, more
All right.
marriage license.
Yeah, right. You have to have a license to be born because you can't be born until they get married. Wait a minute, you're having sex without a license. What's the problem here? So that's why I want to bring that up.
Right point. Go ahead.
Born out of wedlock. Children whose parents are not and have not been married to each other, regardless of marital status of either parent with respect to another.
Read that again.
See what I'm saying?
Here go one again. We're born on that one, but they also have born alive.
Born. Okay, this is Black's Law Dictionary, Pronunciations, Centennial Edition, 1891, 1991, abridged 6th edition. This is abridged. Born, act of being delivered or expelled from the mother's body, whether or not placenta has been separated or cord cut.
He's like,
Y'all going down a rabbit hole. I just don't y'all know.
Okay, wait a minute. Children whose born out of wedlock. Children whose parents are not and have not been married to each other, regardless of marital status of each parent with respect to another. Okay, so
Read the marriage license then.
right.
Read that one. Find that.
For the marriage license? No. The last one is born outside the United States, which should make sense.
It says that?
Yeah. Where at time of birth of children born in the United States, their father was a duly accredited diplomatic representative of the French Republic to the United States. They became subject to the jurisdiction of France and were born outside of the United States within the naturalization provisions of Section 315 of the Nationality Act of 1940.
But why? Why are they alluding to France?
Because France is the founding of the United States Service Corporation in 1754, and it's a foreign corporation. The United States Service Corporation is a foreign corporation founded in France. So they deal with France based on this, and this is 1968. It made a lot of sense. The French Republic. Wow. So I don't understand that.
The question is, how can you be born in order for you to be... I'm not trying to go down a rabbit hole. I'm trying to stay focused.
But it's Moorish American nationality. So born is an issue here. We all think we're born here.
It's technically, when your mother had you, named you, gave you a born name, and through the production of the birth certificate and the Social Security card, she killed you and created a corporate fiction, which you've been operating under. I'm trying to make, because when you read these definitions, it's compounded. Because in order for you to understand the definition, you got to read what's the definition of child. You have to read what's the definition of born, and then you have to put it all together. And I may have one class where we go over how to really read and interpret what you're reading, as well as to understand what it's really saying. Because you have to be able to read to find out what it's really saying to you. Because from the on-site, when you first read it, you won't understand it. And then as you read all of the definitions of all of the words, it's going to come together. So we'll do one of those. Not today. I might do that on a Facebook Live during the week. I might do that in my room on the Facebook Live with my whiteboard, and I'm gonna go over born. I might do that probably today or tomorrow or something like that, just so you can understand what is being done to you based on your ignorance and your lack of knowing how to interpret words. Our lack in knowing how to interpret words, and it's all based on the etymology, which is why everybody should go to etymology.com. Is it etymology.com? Mm-hmm. Is that it? Etymology.com. And this is why you need to know root words. Every word starts with a root, and it has a prefix and a suffix. But the root is what tells you what that word means, and regardless of how it is pronounced and how it is coupled with other words, it'll never stop meaning what that root mean, what that root of that word means. So we have to know how to read and interpret what we're reading in order to defend ourselves when we are being hypothecated or denationalized for the lack of knowing how to effectively read and interpret. And it's based on etymon, which were degrees of knowledge we should have gotten in these so-called schools that we all went to that didn't teach you anything about etymon and anything about etymology, the root words of the root meanings of words, the origins of words. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Birth. It kind of puts a nail in the coffin, you know, what we just read.
Here, read. That's been heavy.
What am I reading now?
Birth.
B-I-R. Okay, birth. That's August 24th to this one. Yeah, B-I-R-T-H. The act of being born or wholly brought into separate existence. Okay, but I can't say my birth because I didn't perform the act of being born.
Say it again.
Makes sense.
Say that again. Read that definition again.
Birth, B-I-R-T-H, because it's B-E-R-T-H too. The act of being born or wholly brought into separate existence. Wallace versus State. That's I can't claim that I'm being born because I can only be part of the participation, but I'm being thrusted out, so I can't say I'm being born. The mother can say that she bore me. as the act of being born or act of bearing. I don't know, this is crazy.
Yeah, we gotta go over it a little deeper. Or a NAB should be doing it instead of instructing everybody else to do it.
Man knows not by being told.
Islam. That is so true.
No.
Man knows. Go ahead.
But I think that last definition speaks to the creation of a separate existence.
Islam.
That's what I see out of it.
In the way I interpret, which is read, I would have to read all those together and then go at it. And I can't do that for you right now because I want to stay on topic. But you got another word for us?
Just looking into a birth certificate,
Oh, what does that say?
a formal document which certifies as to the date and place of one's birth. Okay, understanding what we just read.
Oh, I like that. Let me see.
And that's
Damn, did I have
abridged.
that in there? I want this in here. I don't want that in there.
That's abridged.
I can't.
You want the
Find
heavy
it in,
one, what?
yeah,
What is
yeah,
that
because
one?
this is this is 06. It be combining
Go ahead,
stuff.
go ahead.
Yeah, they
All right. He wants me to read.
combined.
What is this?
Birth
Edition 6 of Black's Law.
Abridged.
Abridged. Where the heck did the damn definition go? Where is it at? Oh, where's it? Birth certificate. A formal document which certifies as to the date and place of one's birth, and a recitation of his or her parentage, as issued by an official in charge of such records. Furnishing of such is often required to prove one's age. Now, when you read and interpret, you have to know what every word means, because they snare you with, okay, formal document. What's formal mean? Go find formal. Because now you got to go find out what is their interpretation in the same document they're referring to formal. And then you have certifies, to certify. So you would have to read up formal, certify, parentage. And then you would have to issued by an official. And that was the key in this definition, issued by an official. When you get a birth certificate from the corporate state, is that an official? And based on the fact that you're getting it from a corporate state, in order for them to issue you anything, they have to kill you first. Because they can't issue certificates of live birth or birth certificates or born certificates to something that is living, because they themselves are dead in the eyes of the law.
Right. That's
Are we
the
getting what I'm saying?
That's the 14th Amendment being applied right away. Wow.
Furnishing of such is often required to prove one's age. But I want to go back to an issue as issued by an official in charge of such records. Now, officials are what? Etymologically, what? In order to be an official, you have to be elected to an office. To be elected to an office, there has to be a government giving you delegation of authority. In order to have delegation of authority, you have to be in your proper person. You can't be dead in the eyes of the law. So when you couple all these things together and you go and get a birth certificate from something that doesn't exist, you are in effect producing a certificate of death. You got formal?
So the
Yeah,
actual
it's
birth
not really too
certificate,
much on
the
there.
actual birth certificate that people go get is actually a birth certificate,
I'm looking for it.
B-E-R-T-H,
Where about
when the
it?
fiction comes out.
Certificate of birth.
Like the
Doesn't say
like the bus, it leaves the birth.
Form.
Like the bus, it leaves the birth. Like the ship leaves the birth. That's what that is. B-E-R-T-H.
But if you look at the birth certificate, it says certificate.
And then look up B-E-R-T-H.
Form. So it said, this is how, look, how I ended up breaking this down when I said I was going to do a class later to break it down. All right. They be doing this to me. They be like, Sharon, call me later.
Jan, you were
They
talking
be like, Sharon.
Jan, you were talking about the class being the name for this class. It's perfect.
Should be,
Yes.
what?
Born.
We're gonna name this class Born. It's on. All right. So let's go back to the definition. A formal document. A form.
For formal.
Formal relates to form. So you got to go back to the word. So when it says formal, we know the root word of formal is form. And then if form tells us to go back to another word, guess what? We got to read another word. So we go into form. A model or skeleton of an instrument to be used in a judicial proceedings containing the principal necessary matters, the proper technical terms or phases, and whatever else is necessary to make it formally correct, arranged or proper in methodical order, and capable of being adapted in the circumstances of a specific case. In contradistinction to substance, form means the legal or technical manner or order to be observed in legal instruments or judicial proceedings or in the construction of legal documents or processes. So I'm going to stop there just to let you know. Then we got to go back and read it again. A formal document. Who can establish a formal document in judicial proceedings? Can individuals who don't have jurisdiction establish or create anything for a living being? If they don't have a seat of office, and you remember what I just said, in order to have seat of office, you got to actually be elected to an office. That's why when you sit here and be like, oh, sorry, officer, you just elected him as the divine and as the matriarch and as the patriarch or whoever, you just assigned him delegation of authority. Because even though you don't know who you are, he knows who you are, and you just said, okay, now I can offend you because you just gave me permission to. Because you just made me an official. And even though I have convinced the world that I am an officer based on social programming, I know that not to be true. And I know I have to trap you into making specific declarations to me verbally in order for me to start acting in that capacity.
Incriminate yourself.
That's why they say what? Miranda rights say what? What does the Miranda rights say?
The right to remain silent.
The right to remain silent.
Shut up.
Right? Because when you say officer, you just elected, and they know you're the sovereign, and they know only you can do that, even though you're a natural being, and even though you got a death certificate. Because you have a death certificate because you got a so-called certificate of a birth certificate and a so-called social security number by a corporation that does not exist. Am I making sense here?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are.
So a birth certificate is a formal document which certifies as to the date and place of one's birth and the recitation of his or her parentage. What does recitation mean? Recitation is to recite. To me, it's saying to state something where you come from. That's what it's automatically saying to me. And that's just based on my research in terms of the etymology.
Or resuscitate if you're dead.
But it said recitation of his or her parentage, one's birth, and a recitation of his or her parentage. So it's saying where you were born and who you were born to. Where you're born and who you were born to, which is why the birth certificates are so important. And I talked about this earlier today, and Light posted something I'll read a little bit later, but I wanted to specifically talk about the fact that how they monetize you as the natural being as property because you have a death certificate and your property of a service corporation because this was done. And then when this was done by your mother, the corporation was established here. And that's how you've been navigating, or the lack thereof navigating, in this system. Right? So status, tier 1, is the most important tier of establishing where you are in society. Are you a corpse, literally dead, body dead, or are you a living being? And just because they both may look exactly alike, talk, speak, create, and produce children, one is alive and one is dead. So when they talk about the walking dead, they're talking about our people who identify as United States U.S. citizens, and to abide by law etymologically means what? Abide. Abide. The A neutralized it. Bide. I want to abide by something, but when I put the A in front of it, I just neutralize it. I'm an outlaw. So to say I'm a law-abiding citizen, and that's why when people talk to us, and we don't know the etymon degrees, or at least know the parts of speech, as well as how to construct words through quantum grammar, we sign contracts all day not realizing it. Verbally. Did you find it?
Say the word again, Nick.
You don't forgot it? Recitation. Recitation. So recite is to speak, right?
Yes.
It's to speak something. So just like how everybody came up here and recited the mantra, they spoke it. They spoke what the mantra was. So now when we go and recite the parentage, you want to read up parentage too? There's a lot going on. We got one damn Black's Law. What happened to you? Oh, this is you.
Yeah, it's two. Sorry, I forgot to bring mine. We got two.
Because we can have like multiple people looking up words. I got one at home too. You think I was bringing that heavy thing? Parentage. And parentage is the what's the root to parentage?
Parent.
So kindred in the direct descendant line, the state or condition of a parent. A parent, the lawful father or mother of a person. In common and ordinary usage, the word comprehends much more than mere fact or what or who was responsible for child's conception and birth. Is commonly understood to describe and refer to a person or persons who share mutual love and affection of a child and who supply child support and maintenance. See, this is why I don't like the 6th edition. But anyway, the recitation of parentage is to recite who you come from. So if you're reciting that you were born in something that doesn't exist and is dead, and start identifying as a corpse.
Right. You can't say you're born in Pennsylvania. You can't say you're
when
born.
You say, here's the trap up words. When you go into these fake venues that know you're cattle, they know you're the walking dead, and when you go into their man, they claim the booty and the prize. They salvage you. Because you don't know who you are. And then, but you think you're a law-abiding citizen. You think you're a law-abiding citizen. Bide. You got to break the words down and know what they're talking about. And this is why they say, just like, where everybody go? This is why they say, put it in a book. They can't read. And that wasn't them saying that you don't open up a book and read, really, per se. That's because they didn't teach you how to read. You went to those institutions and they taught you quantum grammar and how to gain jurisdiction and delegation of authority over you and your trust by the words you don't even know you're saying and the spells. Did y'all find it? What is going on?
It's not in there.
Nah, it's in the 6th.
Huh?
It's not in this one.
What, recite?
Recite is in this one. Recite is here.
Recite?
Yeah, recite
and what
is
was we
here.
looking huh?
We were looking for recitation, right?
Yeah, but recitation is...
It's not in here.
Recite.
It's just, it is, same thing.
It's the same thing.
Right.
That's why we gotta realize they be speaking, that's how they speak you.
That's how they speak.
They'll take recite, cite, C-I-T, cite. It's to say. Cite, recite, and then the R is not to say. Read. Reanalyze. Remember. Recall. And then you gotta look up re. Do we want to go that deep?
Etymologically speaking.
Are you trying to do some?
Smell like weed.
Don't smell like no freaking weed. What?
Oh, really? Am I right?
What, sage?
Recite.
I've zoned out.
Recite to state in a written instrument facts connected with its inception.
Something's burning.
No,
To state in a written instrument facts connected with its inception or reasons for its being made. Also to quote or set forth the words or the contents of some other instrument or documents. As to recite a statute. Recite. Parentage. So, I could go back into that, but I done lost the page and the book went away.
It's right.
Oh. I done lost the page. Alright. So, So, to cite, to recite is to state in a written instrument. Where's re? They're supposed to have it in here. Sometimes you gotta go through. Oh, they actually have it. Re. Latin. In the matter of. In the case of. A term of frequent use in designating judicial proceedings in which there is only one party. Thus, villain signifies in the matter of a villain or in villain's case. Where are you going with that? What?
Re, ra, re.
It's not the same.
It's
Ra.
not- Is it?
Ra is what? The sun.
So is Ray.
Huh?
So is Ray.
Say again?
Ray
Ray.
and Ra, really, the Greeks called it Ra.
Mm-hmm.
But in Kemet and Kush, we called it Ray.
Spelled?
So, R-E.
Hmm.
And that's why sometimes they'll play with the words and the syllable, the vowels.
Vowels.
And they'll say, well, the Ray and the Ra.
And they calling, saying something about being a villain. Right?
What are they saying? They use that as an example, like villain signifies the matter of a
villain.
villain.
As an example, it's actually that's what I said.
So, what you reading?
These people is
Yes, they use
diabolical.
Yes. Okay. Do you think we gon'
It's very diabolical.
y'all going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole? Man, we could be here all day with the rabbit holes. We could possibly go down all day. All right, where am I at? What she say? Somebody.
You know what they don't have in there is necromancy.
Huh?
And what is that? Stop playing.
Talking to the dead.
Yes,
All right.
dead.
Don't we perform that all day? Don't we perform necromancy all day?
That's what they do.
But necromancy is not just talking to the dead, it's bringing it back to life. Right?
Yes.
Necromancy is bringing the dead back to life. Don't we do that every day?
So is there anything?
We don't do that every day?
I don't know. Do we? How we do
I,
that?
through nationality.
I was about to say, I'm tired. We trying.
Okay.
We bring people back from the dead all day. We perform necromancy.
All right.
Every day. When we Johnny Hancock these documents.
Okay.
Now,
Go for that.
why do Albions not want you to nationalize? Because does anybody have an idea on why they want you to do this? Why did they create a whole elaborate process and create a whole nother, not even language, because English is not a language. It doesn't exist because language denotes what? It comes from who? Language. In order for it to be even called language, what you gotta be?
More. More.
You gotta be a more, be more
Indigenous.
specific.
A linguist.
Language is connected with heritage, right?
Yes.
In the peoples, in the culture. Are you getting what I'm saying? So if language is connected to you, English is not connected. It has no connectors. You can change it it has no defined root. You understand what I'm kind of saying? It's nothing grounding it. Foundation. Because with language comes and springs up, right? Think about a tree. Think about you being a tree. You're literally a tree, but you're connected to the earth. So you have language, you have culture, you have this ability, but there's something other people don't have, and they're not connected to the earth. And because they don't have that and are not connected to the earth, they have to be adopted by everybody else. Because they don't have a root. Am I missing y'all? No?
Jacob's experiment.
Yes.
So if some people are dead, born dead, because they don't have a status or a standing in and out of their own right, because of the stargate for which they came, and you can't even call it a stargate. That means you came from the stars. You ain't come from the stars. So you came into existence, into being, some way, artificially, let's say. So you were born dead. So if I'm born dead, I want everybody else to be dead too.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if everybody's dead, we all got the same status, right? We all dead, and it's a dog-eat-dog world, right?
Level the playing field.
Level the playing field. And if you are paying attention to Hollywood and the signs and symbols they're giving you, every movie that they come out with is to keep you docile, is to keep you melting and blending and amalgamating outside of yourself, because individuals want to exist and they want to be on the same footing as everybody else. Just like that movie, what was it, Firefighters, that firefighter movie where they were burning the books, remember? This just came out like 2 years ago with T'Challa, is that his name, T'Challa? Killmonger. Killmonger. Not that movie, but that actor who was Killmonger.
Joel B. Who's that?
It was a firefighter movie. They called it a firefighter, but you would realize with the and it was trying to tell you some history.
I remember that.
What the original firefighters used to do, they used to kill, they used to burn books. They would run around burning books. And in that movie, if you watch that movie, it's specifically talking about how, people fall a lot. People fall a lot, and this is how we stop the fighting to make everybody on the equal playing field. So everybody's on the equal playing field because they don't know who they come from. Mm-hmm. They all ignorant. They all dead.
Fahrenheit
But the elite.
451.
Yes. Was it?
Fahrenheit
451.
451.
And 451, 4591. That's 10, right? 1. Is that what it was?
10, yeah.
10?
How was it? 450?
Which is reduced down to 1? 1 and 0?
Yeah.
So, all these movies are trying to say, like, I'll be honest, trying to sit here and keep you in this mysticism so they can keep you dead because they did.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'm going to show you why. The real reason, this was a quote, this was a post put on social media by Light Tajiri Day. The real reason the Europeans don't want us to nationalize, when we declare and proclaim our Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, Moorish, American nationality, it will force them to admit to the world and explain to their offspring why they cannot be nationalized no matter what land they occupy.
Yes.
They will have to explain why they lied about being an American. Then they have to explain where they came from and why they don't have a nationality. Some would rather die than to tell this truth, but others will want to enjoy the remainder and will trumpet the truth to make it as easy as possible for as many of their own as they can. We will continue to live our birthrights and to assist our own in nationalizing it, as while the earth makes its transition, our vast estate, back to the Moors. It is great, beautiful, powerful, revolutionary process. Grand Rising Moors, peacekeeper forces are arriving to assist in this transition. Because everybody outside of this continent was just waiting for us to wake up. Mm-hmm. They were waiting for us to wake up so they can come over here and bang on that ass till the bones bleed.
Bang 'em.
It ain't gotta be no banging. You're choosing the banging. You're choosing the banging by how? Ignoring the laws. Keep doing this. And you know you're not supposed to be doing this. So the more and more they fight against it, keep in mind, the frequency of the planet is based on the Asiatic woman and sun. We produce the energy that flows all over this earth. And when we say it's over, it's over. When we say colonization is over, it's over. It's already done. The energies is just sweeping across the earth to make it so. Right? And when that happens, if something is dead, where that going? There's movies that talk about even not Black Panther, even Avengers was kind of trying to tell you some stuff. 1 minute, person gonna be here, next minute it's gonna turn into pillars of salt. I mean, they're trying to tell you, but you know, you looking at it as if that's really gonna happen exactly like that. No, not exactly like that. In every movie where there's a world invasion, who they be taking? I'm trying to tell y'all really don't want to hear what I gotta say. You really don't. And I'm trying to keep it
Hence the reason
at a certain level.
First ones killed in movies.
Huh? There was a
Hence the reason why we were the first ones killed.
So who they take, Becky?
if I create a being, y'all, I don't want to go too far. I really don't, because we come from a lot of different
We
places.
sure do.
This earth is not the only freaking planet with life, people. There is a multitude of lives on a multitude of planets, and some people stuck here.
Oh yeah.
Can't go nowhere else, because this is where they were created. Some people came here from another place. Many who actually are humans, who actually are natural living beings, were established. Let me tell you, man. Movies trying to tell y'all stuff.
Star Child.
Star Child. Yeah.
Citizen of the universe.
I'm from Jupiter.
Citizen of
And
the
I'm flying my
universe.
ass back there real soon. So y'all better listen. I'm going back home. I'm just saying. Anyway. But I don't want to go too far. Because I know your fragile minds will freaking start glitching. Some of y'all will glitch.
Like they dancing.
Program, can't compute. And I'm talking about some of our Asiatics. That was on turn man by Felicia. Y'all gonna Felicia me. But technically you're Felicia in yourself. Because you did, and I ain't gonna beat this and I ain't gonna beat this to death, and I ain't gonna go where I wanna go, but because I don't think, maybe offline I'll go there. I don't wanna go there. But you were born, birth certificates killed you, because what is supposed to be on your certificate of life? Birth. What's supposed to be there? What's in these that's not in these? Or it's there. All right. At the top, you're going to have what? Your government. Who's governing your mental? Etymology. Governmental. Who's governing what's in here? For us, it's each other. Moorish American nationals. The Moorish National Republic Federal Government. Us. But for the death certificate, who's at the top of those? The state of.
Pennsylvania state.
Yep. So already, you already told the world who you belong to. You already told them who you belong to. And because it's something that doesn't exist, you already said that you're dead. Literally. Wait a minute. What's next? When you were born, or when you manifested in this plane of existence. Hey! I missed you. Is my baby's here? You by yourself? Oh, but I missed you though. Islam. Did you see Isaiah? Did you find him?
Not yet.
All right. We still gonna be on the hunt. I'm gonna keep saying it until somebody gets him on the phone and he call me and say, Sharon, I was just chilling, because I'm an Aquarius and that's just what we do. Not Sagittarius. I might dip out for 24 hours, but I'm gonna text you and say, I'm doing me today. Something like that.
Or say bye.
Or say bye, Felicia. Or I might say, you stalking me. Alright. So then it's where you were born. Alright? Calendars are very important. So get into your Islamic calendar. and put the quotes in that so-called Christian calendar, because that's not your calendar. And you put the quotes in, not the brackets, because you're just making it known, but taking it out of the document at the same time. For those people who still are on that phase and frequency, where they haven't elevated to realize multiple calendars are going around at the same time, based on your frequency. They need to have multiples of everything. And then you have your appellation titles. We have titles. Here would be the nom de guerre in the corporate document, right? And then it would tell you where you were born, or better yet, where the corporation was established, right? And then it's gonna have